Well, when I first hiked the trail in '73, I came back wanting to help the trail, wanting to help maintain it. And when I did ask, to help maintain the trail in Connecticut, it was sort of no, 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 almost a feeling that uh, you should have worked on the trail first before you hiked it. And I think there was a whole generation of trail folks that, because of various economic conditions or society conditions, that people didn't have free time when they were young. They were either going through the Depression or maybe going off to war and then coming back and raising a family. But in the early '70s, there was a lot more leisure time for young people. So this is, the first time, I think, period of time when young people in their 20s or early 30s were doing the trail. And so after that, I kept on wanting to help the trail, pay it back, but I wasn't getting anything back from the ATC. And there was a reunion of AT hikers, I think in the late '70s, that Ed Garvey sponsored down in Harper's Ferry. And, I came down to it and it was nice. But, after it was done, it was all over. And when I got to the Folk Life Center, I had a facility there and it wasn't being used during that time. I asked Don West if I could host a gathering of long-distance hikers, because I felt a real need. There was a lot of long-distance hikers now, but their needs weren't being met by the ATC. And so I decided that I'm just going to have a gathering of long-distance hikers, and I sent out notices and had about 225 people show up. The first gathering in 1982.
So what was the first gathering like?
Oh, it was remarkable. It was people. One guy drove his taxi down from Boston. Another couple drove across country on their motorcycle with a little, like, Chihuahua dog on top of it. And, another guy rode his motorbike in from Colorado. Another guy walked down from Ohio, all the way down from Ohio to West Virginia. And it was just wonderful. More than I could have expected. And, it was just the amount of positive energy. It was nice. It was something that I didn't want to see and I want to see it to continue. So I asked the people Monday, when we had our wrap-up session, it used to be 4 days there, Monday morning or Columbus Day, what they wanted to do with this and whether they wanted to continue it in some sort of folk structure. And there seemed to be a lot of interest. So I said, well, I'll schedule a meeting in Harper's Ferry because I want the ATC in on it and National Park Service. And we decided on a weekend, and that's the weekend that we actually, 4 or 5 months later, named the organization and then elected officers. Oh no, what I did is I sent out as many things to, Gene Cashin let me have some of the records that the ATC had, sent out letters to people. Back then there wasn't any email. Posted stuff on the trail, sent stuff to hostels. There wasn't that much hostels. And so I really put a lot of effort. I had more time back then. It's before I had children and stuff. And so I had a lot of time to advertise and get the word out. So I think almost everyone that had walked the trail up to that point in time, it had a good address, got a thing, got a notice. And then, I just put stuff out on the trail as well that summer. So I think a lot of people knew that it was happening. Well, I think, the meeting at Harper's Ferry was just tremendous too. I was a little worried that having it institutionalized, it might have lost something there, but it was, we had great representation from the ATC, good representation from National Park Service. Dave Ritchie was, he was a humanist, and just a lot of energy. We had a great representation. We had maintainers, we had trail angels, we had through hikers, and if you look at that picture, we had a wonderful cross section of what I thought the association should be. See, initially, when we were thinking about the name of the group, we had people that wanted to call it like a 2,000 miler society, or something that was more elitist. I said, no, I want this to be for dreamers, for maintainers, for anyone that was interested in the long-distance hiking community, not just long-distance hiking, but long-distance hiking, the culture. So that worked out really well.
And the Folk Life Center, how did that become a thing?
Well, Don West is my mentor, and I first worked down there in 1971 as a volunteer, and then from 71 to 81 I helped Don organize some of his poetry reading, drove him when he got to be elderly, and got to know him real well. And he's the only person I've ever met of heroic stature. So in about 1979 he asked me to come down and continue on his work. And I thought it would be a great honor. And it was just working for living expenses. It wasn't a paid position. But I had to finish up my terminal degree and do my thing first before I did Don West thing, And so I did my thing and had the expeditions and stuff. And so when I came down, and this is just a special place. I hold it dear to my heart. Well, it was in its infancy, so there was a lot more folk. I mean, everyone who came enjoyed it, and they weren't expecting much. As a matter of fact, what they got was a lot more than what they expected. It was cheap back then. It was still, I think, $10, and there was a lot more energy. We've had dancing at every gathering, for the past 24 gatherings, and in the beginning, everyone danced, and if they didn't dance, everyone sat and watched and enjoyed everyone else dancing, and it was just a much more unified group in terms of, I think, the spirit. But we had our divisions, and we were political. We were more political at the gatherings. I always, I don't shy away from controversy, and back then there was talking about road walking and the Cumberland Valley relocation and the use of eminent domain, and I didn't want to sugarcoat it. I saw too much sugarcoating going on at the ATC conference. These were issues that I'd learned from Don West, where this is more than just hiking. When we're walking on the trail, we should know. We hear about all the volunteer hours that the maintainers do and all that, but what about the people who are losing their land and so forth? And we need to be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Well, originally we did square dancing. I feel when I grew up, we had an intercollegiate outing club association, and that's where I learned dancing. As part of all outdoor activities, there'd always be a square dance.